Welcome. I'm Mr. C. We are here today at the beautiful Clark Park in Southwest Detroit. Today's topic is trees. Let's go take a journey through the park and see what we can discover together. Oh, excuse me. Here I'm standing by a red oak. Okay, how do I know that? I know what the shapes of the leaves are. There's none that we see on the ground yet. They haven't fallen from their leaves, even though it's autumn right now. But the red oak leaves are there. And look how big this trunk is. So instead of a stem like you would think of other plants, you think of roots, and the roots here are underground. We have a little bit of buttress roots. This means they're coming out a little bit. That can be dangerous for the tree. We don't want insects eating that and preventing the tree from not only anchoring this big guy, but bringing up nutrients and water from the soil up through this huge trunk, way up to the leaves so that it can transpire. In other words, release some of the water. After it's used what it needs, it releases water. A tree this size, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, can put 100 gallons of water into the air from the roots, the soil, through the trunk, the branches, the smaller branches, the leaves, and out the leaves, what they call stomata. It's like the leaves' nostrils, if you will. That's where carbon dioxide comes in for the tree to use, the leaf to use to make food during photosynthesis. But that's also how the air, the gases like oxygen, release back into the air as a byproduct of photosynthesis. And once the tree uses the water it needs, that's how water leaves the plant, the tree. It's called transpiration. 100 gallons of water. So if you plant these, this is over 100 years old. It's gotta be, look at this, right? The diameter at my shoulder height is what? 3 feet? That's well past 100 years old, knowing the type of tree it is, okay? But if you plant trees like oaks, maples, other types of trees, they all transpire. They help air condition your area. It's a natural air conditioner. Not only do they block the sun for good shade, it feels nice in the shade, be a little cooler in the summertime. Today's a beautiful sunny day. It's about 70 degrees Fahrenheit. But they also air condition around them by putting gallons and gallons of water into the air through transpiration. We're now standing underneath this absolutely beautiful tree, providing lots of shade with its broad leaves, single type of leaves, but broad leaves. Look at the bark. The bark's in fantastic shape. I walked around it. No sign of insect damage or bark peeling off the main trunk, which is basically the stem of this plant, the tree. We call it a trunk. What type of tree is this? I'm gonna let you figure it out based on the shape of this leaf. Think of a flower. What type of flower does that remind you of? Open it up. I found this on the ground, and please don't pick leaves off of trees. Let them fall to the ground, and then you can take some home and study them, or study them in the park and let them be. Does it look like a flower to you? Well, it does to me. This is called the tulip tree. Do you see a tulip? Okay. It's also, I used to share with my son, it also reminded me of a goose's foot or a duck's foot. So that's one way I would help him, or help both of us actually remember what type of tree. So you look at the bark, like Mr. Down was just showing you and showing you again now. You look at the color of the bark, the shape, the texture of the bark, you feel it. Beautiful tree, solid, right? And you look at, of course, its leaves. Does it have simple or compound leaves? This is a simple leaf. What shape or physiognomy exists with this leaf or any leaf you're studying? And then you can determine what type of tree it is. We're standing yet underneath yet another tree here in Clark Park, the sycamore. Very indicative of the sycamore is its sickly looking bark. That's my opinion. That's how I was taught in my botany classes, but it's certainly not sick. There is a little bit of bark peeling down at the bottom, but as you trend up, the modeling, the difference in color, almost like a camouflage, right? As you see maybe military uniforms, that type of thing, or hunting uniforms, that's normal of the bark of a sycamore, okay? Always try to tell a tree by its bark first. When the leaves are on the ground and there's not many left, maybe the wind has blown them around, you want to get good at telling the tree by its bark. And I'll share with you a story about that later as we close the video. Another thing about the sycamore, it's very, very broad leaf. Almost as big as the palm of my hand or larger, right? Look at that. It's in the maple family. It's got that maple shape. Looks more like a sugar maple than a silver, but certainly a maple shape. Palmate is what we call this shape, or physiognomy, and it's beautiful for a shade tree. There's a street in Detroit by an old neighborhood where I taught, Dixon, Piedmont. There were sycamores on one side of the street, sycamores on the other. The branches looped together, intertwined at the top, above the street, to make a sycamore tunnel. Between Belton and Tireman on Piedmont, drive through there. It is absolutely gorgeous. I'm standing here next to one of my favorite trees. You know it. We study about it in school or otherwise. It's our state's tree. It's called the Eastern White Pine, and here it is. As you pan down, Mr. Don, from the base, up the tree, you'll see the color of the bark changes. From a darker color, a gray, black, to a more smoky, lighter gray. Very indicative of a white pine, our state of Michigan state tree, okay? Another way to identify it, all pines have what we call needles. These are leaves. They're called modified leaves. So you think of the maple that we showed you already, the oak, the locust, those are all types of leaves. These are leaves, but they're modified leaves called needles. And in the case of a red pine, each bundle, if you look very closely, you'll see that they're in what's called a bundle. I don't want to take it, be gentle, big gentle. These little bundles right here, bundle, bundle, bundle. Each bundle in a white pine, if you count the leaves, there's 5. 3, 4, 5, unless it's been damaged, but that's indicative also that this tree species of pine is an eastern white pine, okay? And it's so peaceful looking. It's a beautiful deer love this tree because as the needles fall, they don't fall every year, but as they die and fall and then they regrow new ones, it makes a nice bedding, nice soft bedding for deer and other animals for nighttime sleeping. Eastern white pine, beautiful tree. And here at Clark Park, they have quite a few of them. We've counted what, 10? Minimum 10 so far, and we're not done yet. Oh, hi again. I was just taking a walk around this beautiful tree that has a couple health issues, and we'll talk about that briefly. This is a huge, not seen many of this at this type of size. And here's the leaf I found on the ground. It's a compound leaf, so this whole thing is one leaf with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 leaflets. This type of leaf, the shape and the fact I've seen this before and read about it and studied it, and there's things dropping on Mr. Don and I's head. The fruit of this tree, squirrels love them. You see their little nibble on that one, Don? Those are the name of this tree also. It's called Buckeye. So Ohio State fans, this is what a Buckeye is. It's a type of tree. It does bear fruit, and squirrels in our area will eat those. So it's good to have for squirrels and other wildlife to eat. This one has a little center rot. So as I was walking around, when you're studying trees, you should always take a little trip around the tree. Look at it, see if there's any peeling of bark or just general health, right? Look at its health. Here's some center rot. Now, down in there could be an animal, so I'm not gonna put my hand down there. So animals like squirrels might use this to make a little nest. Other birds maybe, or birds might do that too. There's a squirrel right there. It just went up above our head. But a buckeye. And look at the fungus on this one. This is not just due to leaf color change because of the time of year. This is due to a fungus. So a couple things that worry me about this tree. The fungus, because this is the food making factories of the tree. Photosynthesis occurs in these leaves. Compound, leaflets, one leaf. And the center rot. And there's a little bit of bark peeling, so we have to watch this tree. It's getting older, right? We have to be careful and playing around it, and we have to take care of our older organisms, like me. We were walking by this beautiful, beautiful large maple tree. You see how it's losing some of its bark? Not a good sign. That's not a good sign because insects can get in there, and you see the holes here. Insects like beetles and beetle larvae can get in there. Even woodpeckers up above more, looking for insects to eat. They can bore through here and weaken the bark, falls off, and then the tree can get diseased. Here's another sign, folks. A beautiful example of this. It's a bracket fungus. A bracket fungus like this. Let's not touch this. Let's admire if you think it's beautiful. Just stay away from it. But it is part of the food web. Fungus, fungi do decompose things that are dying or dead. This is not a dead tree by any means, but it does have some damage. Here's some center rot, what we consider center rot. And the tree, or the fungus, knows this. Spores came from the air somewhere, landed, and they have a good place. They have moisture. It's dark on this side of the tree, or darker, even though it's daylight. It's perfect for fungus, things like that to grow. So trees can fall victim to these things, these types of organisms. A living thing, this is one of many, many types of fungus, but you do not want to put this one on your pizza. I see someone's been picking things off here. Let's leave this alone. Let's just admire it from a distance, because sometimes the spores, you may be allergic, and some of these things are toxic, poisonous. Thank you for joining us for our virtual field trip today at Clark Park, Southwest Detroit. Absolutely gorgeous place to visit. I hope you can do with your family. Come here with your families as soon as you like. All year round you could do something here. And let me close today's video with a story. Well, we have several species of dogwoods in Michigan. We have the silky dogwood, a beautiful shrub you'll see along wetlands like bogs and marshes, etc. We have the gray dogwood. We have the flowering dogwood. A beautiful shrub to tree. It gets higher than 15 feet sometimes tree. Beautiful pink and white flowers in the springtime. So I used to ask my students, how can you tell a dogwood from any other type of tree? Well, we look at the leaves, Mr. C. Okay, that's one way. But remember back a bit in the video I shared with you to try to find out or discover what type of tree or species of tree an organism like this one, beautiful here, is by its bark as well, okay? So how do you tell a dogwood from any other tree? By its bark. Get it? Please tune in again. We'll see you soon. And thank you again for joining us today. And please give a virtual clap to Mr. Bogart, Mr. Don Bogart, our curator, who's filming today and putting up with me. Bye-bye.